Welcome to Spitbucket. This week we're here, Nick Farr.
Ken, thank you.
Welcome to Spitbucket. Now, Spitbucket would not exist without your dad.
Which would have something to do with alcohol, cigars, and you sitting around doing nothing?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Through cigars, he introduced me to Rob, who is, of course, one of the other, that's the Palate of the People, one of our partners. But, now, you've got for us today your own range, the Farr Rising.
Yes.
And we're also going to have a look at some of the by Fars later.
Yes. Which is now, so Farr Rising is still my own brand, but by Farr is now made by the Farr family, which incorporates Dad into something where he generally visits us during the day, but doesn't do a lot of hands-on as such anymore.
He's got to the stage where he can be the elder statesman now, can't he?
Yeah.
Okay, well now tell us about the brand. How long have you been going with this?
2001 was the first vintage, and so 11th vintage now. So I started at age 21, and hopefully I don't get burnt out like Dad has, but I'm still very
Sue him, not us.
No, the brand's gone really well in the last 2 or 3 years, getting fantastic media support and also trade support, exporting a little bit now, which wasn't the idea, but with the demand that we've had from Asia, we can't really help it, and it's fun just to go and visit those countries and eat food.
Tax-free holiday.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. The ATA doesn't watch this. We have a look?
Yep.
Righto.
Chardonnay?
Yep.
09 was quite a difficult vintage, or the most challenging vintage that I've been involved in, simply because of 4 days that were over 40 degrees. So the Farr Rising vineyards, which all run north-south, so they're quite exposed on the west side of the canopy. We didn't pick any fruit off the west side of the canopy, it just fried. So we're very particular about the fruit that was brought in so that we didn't get broad flavours in our Chardonnay, we didn't get jammy flavours in our Pinot.
You got quite rich flavours.
Quite rich. They're probably the most fruit-forward wines that we've made from Farr Rising, where there's usually a lot of savouriness from front to back. There's a little bit more sweet fruit at the front of the palate, and more of that sour flavours from on the finish.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you look back at some of yours, they'd probably be a bit more elegant than this style.
Yes.
But this has got lots of flavour.
Yeah. Well, we've found that the consumer's loving this because it's so upfront, which isn't necessarily what we're going for, but when they're first released, new releases, it's good to have that sort of response rather than having it 6 or 12 months down the track.
That's not a bad start, is it? I'm very happy with that.
The rosés all off Geelong Pinot, so it's not necessarily made every year. Some years we make a lot, some years we make very little, but the Farr Rising vineyards, we tend not quite to limit the tonnages as much as we do in the by Farr, but we naturally get around that 2.5, but we bring it back to about 2 tonne each year. So we make more or less a byproduct in rosé while trying to concentrate the Pinot Noir tank. But it's barrel fermented, all old oak.
It's not your typical Aussie.
No. So we're trying to make something that's a lot more serious in style, not looking to make a sweet quaffing wine at all. So it sits on skins for only about 4 to 5 hours just to get that salmony pink colour.
It is quite a very pale, light colour, isn't it?
Yep. But we're using old oak, natural fermentation, and full malolactic to get more complexity, more length, more stylistic rosé.
Now, this is the star of the range.
It is. This is the one that's doing really well for us at the moment. Geelong Pinot. It's a blend of 2 vineyards off the estate, where by Farr is predominantly 114 and 115 clone, and a few other Burgundian clones. This has 50% MV6, so we're looking to have a little bit more masculinity in this wine. So even though it's a hotter vintage and it's a little bit more fruit forward, it's certainly still within the realms of the house Farr style, I think.
It's certainly got that, you talked about grip earlier, it's got plenty of that grip.
It does. So it's got a nice sweet fruit, opulent fruit to start with, and then you've got that grippy tannin that is going to develop into length. And
yeah, you almost don't see it coming. You've got that nice plushness, and then it moves into the sort of almost serious structure at the end of it, and it's got pretty good length.
Yeah, it's got great length and I don't see any of that warmth from that particular vintage at all.
No. Anyway, look, Nick, thank you so much for coming on Spitbucket.
Nice. Thank you.
And we'll see you with the by Fars.
Great.
Remember, we spit so you don't have to. Cheers.